encouraged.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
Damn good coffee and hot.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with the Dog. You make me laugh.
Oh, good morning, folks. The voice is a little shot. It is Friday, August 25th, 2023. Good morning. Great morning to have you here. I'm a weekend guy now. For a guy who doesn't really work a job, I'm working for the weekend. Good to see that we got through this week. It's been a long couple of weeks, but this week in particular has been a very long, tough week for me. Anyway, it's great to have you here. Today, we are going to meet a couple of filmmakers who have a film coming out, I believe, September 22nd, called Condition of Return. It is a suspense thriller, time travel, devil movie. I think that sums it up. Anyway, we will be meeting the producer and director of that upcoming film in about 15 minutes or so. Later on, Robert Taylor will be joining us from Maine, Portland, Maine, where he's doing a show with Dusty Slay this weekend. So we got a good show for you. Maybe we'll have some laughs later on. We'll see about that. Last night, as you know, unless you live under a rock somewhere, Donald Trump was arraigned in Fulton County, Georgia, and Twitter is blowing up over it. Ironically, the thing that matters most to people is his lying about his weight. Listen, he's lying about his weight. There's no doubt about that. He claims he's 6'3" and 215 pounds. No, I would say probably 315 pounds, if anything. But, I'm 6'1" and about 250 pounds. 6 foot. Between 6 foot and a half inch and 250 pounds. And I don't have that big fat gut. A little chubby. I'm a little bit chubby. But come on. I mean, you know what 6'3" and 215 pounds looks like. It looks like an athlete. And even if you got whatever. So there's no reason. And it's so trivial and matters to no one but why even fabricate that? Why even go along with it? So but Twitter is blowing up over it. And you know what? The other social networks seem to be behaving or more I don't want to play favorites here, or less stupid. Let's put it that way. Less stupid. Anyway, yeah, so that's the big news. That's the thing that everybody's upset about today, or what's blowing up social media. It's ridiculous, the things that we can get caught up in. I mean, obviously he's lying about his weight, but who cares? Who really cares? The thing is, why would you even go? Why even do that? Why, And the other part of that is, if it were me getting arrested, I don't think they'd let me just tell them what I weigh and how much you weigh and how tall are you. I mean, I think in most cases, when you get booked, they do that. But it was done even before he was there. The information was submitted before he was there. So obviously, they're letting them self-submit height and weight stuff. Again, it's so trivial it doesn't matter. But why lie? That's the thing. Why lie about little things like that? Makes no sense at all. Anyway, if you're upset about that, I don't know. Smoke them if you got them. uh, the film Road Dog, I found out yesterday, is going to be released nationwide in digital format, which means streaming, I guess, on October 6th. It's, I believe, this week. It's debuting in Chicago, where it was filmed, for a select audience in theaters. But on October 6th, it will be released. And it's been a long time. And the thing is, with these movies, from the time they decide to make the movie, and the time you hear about it, and then the production time and all that stuff, and then by the time it gets distributed, the people who were involved in it are much older. I'm sure for the writer, it's even worse. For the people who actually had the original concept, could be years and years, could be a decade before your film actually gets to the people to see. This one, Road Dog, I think we found out about it, I want to say 3 years ago. Maybe I'm off with that. But yeah, just how long it's fascinating how long it takes for films to get to market these days. And you build up. It's so much of the media model that we would deal with now is based on the Apple marketing model of building a buzz around something, and that's what we're going to be trying to do here today with the film we're going to be talking about. But you build a buzz about something, people get this anticipation, and if you start too early, people can get worn out and never get around to. Um, they lose interest if you just start too early and never get around to fulfilling that advanced buzz about it. So it's tricky. And you know what? A lot of independent films are forced to really go guerrilla marketing, podcasts, and whatever, any way to get the message out to the potential following. And it's tricky. How do you know when how early is too early to start pushing the thing? But Road Dog, if you're like me, been anticipating it for a long time. And the trailer is out now. A trailer is available. You can see the trail. Finally, a trailer. And we expect big things from it because it did get a lot of awards at the film festivals it was submitted to, best actor, best director, all that kind of stuff. Um, and then going straight to digital. And you know what? It used to be a stigma about that. Going straight to video, uh, blockbuster type thing was a negative. No, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I'm sure my guest today will have better insights on that. But I don't think there's any shame in that whatsoever. Going straight to digital. It's just maybe it's the way the model is going for films and how we enjoy films. It's like what people they've made movie theaters a lot more comfortable. They've made it a lot more like a living room experience, but I think COVID changed the experience for a lot of people where they said, "You know what? I have a television on my wall that is as big as my house. I have a big old comfortable couch, a theater-like experience at home. What do I need to go pay $30 for a bucket of popcorn for?" Like, I mean, so there's that part of it. But times are changing, and we'll see what's going on the COVID front. Just before we take a quick break, and then I'll come back and we'll meet our guests today. Um, COVID has had an uptick in the last month and a half, I guess. I've been seeing some people. I've known some people who've gotten it. Know some people who think they might have gotten it, but haven't been tested because it's like a mild cold to them at right now. Um, but so there is this uptick. But we have some crazy people who want to jump right back into the conspiracy pool, thinking that this is a government conspiracy to re-up the disease. For what purpose? To control us some more, to put us in lockdown again. I think sometimes, these conspiracy people are just living in a world of paranoid delusion. I think, and listen, I'm no doctor, granted, no doctor, and I'm not a virologist, and I don't know what I'm talking about. So we'll go with the disclaimer for now. But diseases like this, it's going to become part of our seasonal thing. We've had cold and flu seasons forever. This time of year, where as it goes into fall, cold and flu season, and I think COVID is just going to become part of the regimen for that. That's what I think. But I certainly don't think the United States government is doing this on purpose to re-up COVID, to start what we went through over again. And the people who are spreading that kind of stuff, I think they need help. I mean, last night my guest was talking about the trauma of the pandemic, and it did definitely break a few people's minds. It did definitely break a few people's minds. So if you're on that boat, get off that boat. If you're on that train, get off that train. Stop with the conspiracy theories. Just lastly, last night after my show, took a little trip to a grocery store. Mind you, last night was August 24th. It's not even the end of August yet. We still have a week left in August. And the minute I walk in the store, it's fall favorites promotions. And there's all kinds of things, like pumpkins, pumpkin seed, pumpkin spice stuff. It's August. There's still heat waves going around all over the South and the Midwest and the Pacific Northwest. Heat waves, brutal summer heat. And we're pushing fall favorites and Halloween candy. I shit you not. Halloween candy. And my wife said there was some Thanksgiving stuff also on sale. We're trying to rush through life in a really crazy way. And slow down. As an old man, I can tell you there will come a time in life where you're going to want to drag your feet to slow it down a little bit. And why not start when you're young? Don't let your youth go flying by, and don't live for the next season. Last night we were talking about living in the moment. We're not living in the moment. We're not even living in the season. At some point, we're not even going to be living in the decade. We're always going to be thinking future-wise or living out there. Live for today. Today's a good day. That's my message for today. I'll get off the soapbox now. We'll be back in just one moment, and we're going to meet the filmmakers of a film called Condition of Return, which has got a lot of little elements to it. It's a suspense thriller. It's got time travel elements to it. It's got spiritual elements, devil, I think Christianity into it too. A whole wide mix of stuff. We'll actually look at the trailer with the filmmakers in just a moment. We'll be right back.
Hey, yeah, Mind Dog, yeah, Mind Dog. If you ready for some action, this dog sure to keep you laughing. Let's go. Mind Dog, yeah, Mind Dog. Don't roll, don't play fetch, only here to keep your interest. This is the show that you've been missing, full of comedians and musicians, plenty of interviews, entertaining, keep it funny, there ain't no debating. So authentic and straight raw, pushing the limits when they talk, doing it live when they stream. Mind Dog TV, yeah, so crazy, getting intense. The dogs are wild, better beware before you hop over the fence. Mind Dog, yeah, Mind Dog. If you ready for some action, this dog sure to keep you laughing. Let's go. Mind Dog, hey, Mind Dog. Don't roll, don't play fetch, only here to keep your interest. Let's go. Come have coffee with the dog.
This episode is brought to you by Koa Coffee. If you are a coffee connoisseur and want to experience the best coffee Hawaii has to offer, No blends, no compromise. Try the true taste of aloha. Koa Coffee produces premium Hawaiian coffee, hand-picked, expertly roasted, and delivered from Hawaii to your door with aloha. From award-winning 100% Kona coffee grown on the slopes of the Mauna Loa volcano to the unique mocha beans of Maui, they strive to provide their loyal customers with the best quality and freshness. Since 1997, Koa Coffee has been known far and wide as a product of utmost quality, and their awards prove it. Koa Coffee was featured in Forbes' Top 10 Coffees of the World. This is the coffee Forbes called the best coffee in America. Find out what it's all about. Go to minddogtv.com/coffee. Where's my girl? Hello there. Turn around. Hi. Good to see you again. All right, you can go. I just like to get her to turn around, to acknowledge my existence. Anyway, Robert Taylor will be with us in the next hour from Portland, Maine, where he's doing a show with Dusty Slay. I have reached out to Dusty to be on the program, but it's good to have our man Robert on the scene to kind of nudge that along. Mark Sterling and Tommy Stovall. I hope I'm pronouncing that Stovall, or I hope I'm pronouncing that last name right. Producer and director of new independent feature Condition of Return, starring. I'll be right back. I'm going to go get some new lips. Starring Anna Lynn McCord, Dean Cain, Superman, and Natasha Henstridge, which is always another tough name for me to say. They're here now to discuss their film. Please, ladies and gentlemen, please open your ears, open your minds, and help me welcome in Mark and Tommy. Tommy, did I pronounce your name right, first of all?
Yeah, you did good.
Okay. Yeah, it's always tricky for me. I don't know. It's like they're trying to, trick me up a little bit. Anyway, welcome, gentlemen, and it's good to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
I don't know if you've heard any of my prologue here before we started today, but I was talking about the time it takes for when you first start a project like this to the time it gets distributed to people. It can be a really long, and how do you keep your own interest and own motivation up and all your excitement for a project? How long did this project take?
Well, technically it took about 2 years. I found the script in 2015, so it took longer to actually get it off the ground. So I've been thinking about it for 7-8 years now.
Yeah, well, but your prospective audience hasn't known about it for 7 or 8 years, right?
No, they have not.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of tricky now with independent films, is how soon you start creating a buzz for it. Because I was talking about a comedy film that is coming out. It's kind of a comedy drama, but the fans have been teased about it for probably about 3 years. Is that a healthy thing, or in your view, or not?
I think it depends. Yeah, it's a tricky thing. Especially when you've been working on it for 2 solid years and thinking about it every day. You kind of want to get away from it sometimes, but I think it's probably best to wait till the movie's about to come out to really introduce it to the public.
Right. Now, has this film, because it's I believe September 22nd is the release date.
September 22nd.
Has it been previewed someplace? Has there been a screening previously? Because there are reviews for it on IMDb, and I'm just wondering how those people who reviewed it got to see it.
Yeah, we played a couple of film festivals. We premiered, our world premiere was at the Sedona Film Festival back in February, and that got a really good reception there. And then we played at the Phoenix Film Festival about a month later, and we got some really good response.
Now you got one from a critic, not just a consumer, so a viewer, from a critic, and it's confusing to me because he it didn't seem like he actually saw the film because he said people he said that were starring in it are not in it.
No, that's bizarre. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, our writer called me one day and he said, or he sent me a link to this review, and I looked at it, and it had our poster and it had our trailer, but the review itself had nothing to do with our film. So I think the reviewer was a little confused at what film he was reviewing.
Yeah, it might be one of the states that one of the early states that legalized marijuana really early or something. Well, maybe he bought a ticket to the movie and it was at a multiplex and he went in the wrong room and he just this must be it.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? So
I was just excited he had our trailer up there, so it was a win for us.
Well, the trailer is intriguing, and I want to play the trailer now that you mention it. Or maybe we can do that right now, and then we'll come back and talk about it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
This is the greeting we often hear at the beginning of Mass. It comes from the
Mike Stafford called.
Is this about that church shooting?
What makes a person do something like that?
Eve, you said in your statement that the devil made you do it. You care to elaborate?
Wouldn't be doing myself any favors.
The girl is sane and fit to stand trial. You understand?
I feel bad for you.
Why is that?
Because hell is real.
That's where you think I'm headed?
That's between you and God.
Eve, did you know everybody in that church?
This doesn't involve brimstone and contracts written in blood. Haven't you ever wanted or needed something desperately?
Very cool. Very cool. It is definitely something that inspires you to want to see the film, but it doesn't give you a real picture of, because when I first started, I thought this was a religious thriller. It was kind of God against the devil type of thing. I didn't even get that there was time travel from the trailer. And to me, I'm a time travel buff. All you have to say is the word time travel, and I'm on it. So the minute I found out that it was about time travel, but it's very compelling. That's the word for the trailer, to make you want to see the movie. So congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Tell me about. You say you found the script in 2015. How does it start? Are you out there actively looking for a script? Does the script just come to you and you read it and you say, "Wow, this is a fascinating story"? What made you want to make this film, and how does it work between the two of you? Like, who is the first one to say, "Yeah, let's greenlight this thing"?
Well, I was just looking for scripts. I was looking for something that we might want to do. I had written most of our projects in the past, and I thought, well, I would go out there online and just pour through scripts and see if there's anything that caught my eye, and was looking for something that we could do on our resources. And I came across this script and I read it, and I was just immediately intrigued, and I just loved the story and loved the characters, and I just immediately thought I wanted to make it into a movie. So, and so I contacted the writer, said, would you be okay if I optioned this script? And he gladly agreed. And so that's what happened. And, I had the script, like I said, since 2015, and we just started trying to figure out how we can make it happen, how we could raise the money, started looking at casting ideas and so forth. And it just took a while to get there. And, we finally, I brought the script to Mark and said, "This is the movie I want to do." And he said, okay. And he said he thought it sounded interesting. So we went from there.
That sounds like a little bit lukewarm. Like, yeah, okay. That sounds. I should say the writer's name is John Spare. Has he written anything before? Is this his first, film that came to fruition from what he's written?
Yeah, this is his first film. He first script he wrote. He's written several since then, and I've read several of them. He's a very good writer. Uh, and yeah, so he's very excited because this is his first film he's
Good
had produced, and
Good for him, but beginner's luck. I go back to the Dreyfus thing with Apprenticeship of Duty Kravitz, what he was talking about when he was nominated for an Oscar, and he heard a voice in his head, "Too soon, too soon." And there's that thing of it can raise expectations. You get your first screenplay made into a movie. Now you think it's just a given that everything I write is going to become a movie. So, but good for him. Glad for him. Now, Mark, how did your involvement in this? What is the producer's role? Is it your role to go out and get the funding and get money to back this thing now? And how do you approach that?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know that. By the way, everybody listening right now.
Well, we've done, this is our fifth film, and Tommy and I, we have a boundary. We know what his role is and what my role is, and he's made it very clear that I am not the creative guy, and he's very he handles all that stuff, and I handle all the stuff that's non-creative. I'm a tax accountant by trade, and we've done a lot of prep work where we know exactly what has to be done, the paperwork, the contracts, the from the location, securing the locations to travel for actors and crew and lodging and all that stuff. So I kind of am in charge of that, if you want to say more of the budget and the money and the funding and the things like that. And so that's my role.
Okay. Now, when it comes down, because I've talked to a lot of independent filmmakers, and it is important to have some name recognition in your movie, but when it comes down to getting the stars to commit, and especially with this one, I'm just how do you where does that begin? Do you take one, or do you have a list of the cast that you want for this, or do you just go after one name and then use that name to convince the other people? What's the methodology there?
yeah, well, you start thinking of their attention on a low budget like this.
Right.
You know, it's not easy getting their agents to even respond to you sometimes.
Yeah.
And at one point we thought, well, why don't we just make this film with unknown actors? We'll just go out and find some really good actors, and we'll just make the film and see how it turns out. But I made the decision that we really needed someone who was a little well known at least, and someone who was a really good actor. I decided a couple of years ago, right before we did the film, I said, we're not going to do this film unless we find the right actress to play the lead role of this character Eve. And it just so happened that we were watching movies one night at home, looking through Amazon Prime for something to watch, and we came across this movie I'd never heard of called Excision, and Annalyn McCord was the lead in that film. And we watched the film, and I was just blown away with her performance. I was just so impressed with her. I'd never seen any of her other work. So literally the next day, I contacted her manager, and I said I would like to send you a script and an offer for this film I want to do. And he said, sure, send it over, and I'll send it along to her. And literally the next day, a day later, which hardly ever happens, he got back to me and said she wants to do it. And so suddenly we were off to the races. We had our lead actress.
Wow.
And we were just excited and scared all at the same time. And
why scared?
Well, it's the film is it has some heavy subjects that we tackle in it.
Yeah.
And I knew we would have some challenges, technically getting the film made, because we had a lot of locations to deal with and stuff like that. And but I was more excited than anything because I felt we had the right actress. And
right. She's
And
very compelling. When I see her on screen, there's this I don't know, some people just have this magic about their ability, and it's not, the camera friendly, camera loves you, it's all that. It's just a personality thing, confidence, boldness, strength, all that comes through with her. And I like you, I wasn't familiar with her work until I found out about this film, and then I started doing a deep dive and looking at some of her stuff, and she is really compelling. I'm surprised she's not like a-list celebrity that everybody knows at this point, because she's really, really a strong character. So with when you got her, is that what you used to get like Dean Cain and Natasha Henstridge? That's a tough name for me to say, Henstridge.
oh yeah, yeah. It's so funny when you do films. Once you get one actor on board, the rest kind of fall in place. Sometimes they just come to you. It's a very interesting thing. Uh, yeah, we cast Anna Lynn, and it was her manager who also manages Dean Cain. He I was asking him about, a couple of other actors, and one of her managers suggested Dean Cain. He pitched him to me. He says, "Well, what about Dean Cain? What do you think about that?" And I said, that would be very interesting." And so that's how that happened.
Wow.
Dean, and I said, "Yeah, sure, give him the script," and they gave him the script, and he wanted to do it as well, and so that happened, pretty fast.
Wow. Have they worked together before? I'm asking because there's a still from the production of this. It's interesting to see, because they're at the table. It looks like you're setting up for lighting and just getting framing and all that stuff, and they're smiling and look like they're having a good time laughing while you're doing the work, and everybody in the room is happy except you. You're looking like really, you're like. Serious, really serious, and it seemed like there might be a friendly relationship there, or something. Have they worked together before?
Yeah, no, they had not worked together. This was the first time they'd worked together, but they knew each other.
Okay.
Yeah, Dean. That was one reason Dean wanted to do the film. He told me the first time I talked to him, he said, he would love to work with Anna Lynn. So,
very cool.
That was another reason he wanted to do it.
And it makes such a big difference when everyone's attitude and their demeanor is just so friendly. We run a very lighthearted yet productive set, and it's very important for everyone to really have a good time while giving their best performance, crew and cast. And we've gotten so many compliments, especially from the crew, that they're saying, "Wow, why isn't anyone yelling?" or why isn't anyone mad today, or like that. It's like, because you try to have that climate where people want to be there, and they feel excited, and they do well.
Yeah. Well, if we can, and I don't want to keep you guys forever, but I do want to talk about this, if it's okay with you, because how films get made and the way filmmaking has evolved from the old days is interesting. And looking at the stills of the shoot makes me think how different that is from traditional Hollywood. And recently I've been reviewing a lot of people talking about how Clint Eastwood works, and they were stunned when they first started working with him that he never shouted action, the big old thing like that, and how he works, and he likes it informal, and he just goes like, "Okay, you can start now," that kind of stuff. But looking at the stills, it's definitely different than what the old Hollywood method of filmmaking was, and that kind of creating those kind of atmospheres. Now, the final product still looks like high production Hollywood stuff, but you're not seeing these kind of extravagant sets or backlots and sound stages and all this stuff. It looks like it's sometimes shot on location and all that kind of stuff. Where was the film shot, and how are those decisions made as far as the production aspects of it?
Well, it was shot completely on location. Uh, some of the locations we had difficulty finding, and we had to actually build sets. for instance, we had an airplane scene we had to build a set for, and a prison scene we had to build a set for. But yeah, it was shot in all on location. That was the biggest challenge we had on this film, is we had 21 locations shot over 19 days of shooting. And so that was a pretty, big hurdle to deal with.
Right. And the production value from the consumer's perspective, it looks like, a major, well, like a multi-million dollar budget. I don't even know what the budget is. Probably $500 million for the Hollywood blockbusters these days. But
we'll go with that.
yeah, $500 million. But when I think about this kind of movie, because I had written a movie about a guy who goes to hell 30 years ago, and I tried to produce it on my own, and I was like, in those days, like, there's too much technical special effects, CGI, and all that stuff that were needed. I don't see in the trailer. I don't see a lot of call for that. But thinking of time travel, the devil, spirituality, churches, and all these kind of things, you would think that this would require a more special effects than what we see. Well, I don't even see any special effects in the trailer, right? So that kind of stuff. How do you get around? What movies are overdoing these days is all the crazy eye candy that it needs to hold young people's attention.
Right. One of the things I really loved about the script is that it's based in reality. Even though we're dealing with supernatural elements, we're dealing with religion, we're dealing with God, the devil, some serious subjects. It's all based in reality. The devil is a real person. It's not, some CGI creation. So that's what really, I think, makes this film kind of unique in that way.
Do you handle the actual time travel? Like, do you show like how time? Because that's one thing I'm always curious. I had somebody on who had a time travel movie about saving Jesus, and a book that's probably going to be made into a movie. And basically, the idea was this girl was going to go back. Her job was to kill Christ before he got on the cross, to destroy the Christian religion. So because it's all based on the resurrection, and kills him before he gets on the cross, blah blah blah. But I was like curious, for me, as somebody who's really into time travel, how does the time? And all he could say was gravity. I was like, well, I want to see something visual. Is there a visual, illustration of how the time travel actually works?
Well, I think I think you're getting the time travel from the review that.
Oh, really?
You probably read, yeah, because there's really no time travel in this.
See,
film.
no, because it was about my first inclination when I first heard about the film from the publicist. There was no time travel in it, and then I read that review. I guess it was from that review, but because it made sense. Condition of return sounded like I went somewhere and came back. So there's no time travel in this at all.
No, there's really no time travel. We do go back in time. There's that. We do go back in time to tell the story, but
and she does her the whole devil worshiping kind of thing, and brings her back. There's some travel there,
right.
But it's pushing it.
Okay, yeah. So see, now that's totally different than the synopsis I read from that. I want to contact the guy who wrote that review and say, you misled me. I'm sorry about that.
No problem. No, but this film, it's really about the characters and the actors and their performances and what they bring to it. There's a lot of subtlety going on, and a lot of meaning behind their words and their actions, and it's just it's a fascinating character piece, I think.
Right. Are you a spiritual or religious person? What drew you to this this devil theme?
I'm not religious myself, but the film deals with themes that are so common in our culture. Themes that we see in other movies. Dealing with the devil and selling your soul and stuff like that. In fact, in the movie, Dean Cain's character is an atheist, and he's talking to this woman who's a very devout Catholic, and that's what another thing that makes it interesting is he's talking to her about all these religious things that she's telling him, and he doesn't believe any of it,
Right.
and and so that just that's something that's very interesting and kind of universal, that we all know about. We all are aware of all the religious.
I deal with this all the time. I mean, for somebody who talks to mostly comedians, musicians, filmmakers, and such, spend an awful lot of time talking about religious or spiritual or these good and evil. And good and evil is the big part of things that I'm curious about. Like, where do those forces come from? Are they inherent within each human being? Is there really a force in the universe, good and evil? Are they actual forces like gravity and electromagnetism, all that kind of stuff? So yeah, they are compelling things. I'm not sure how much other people think about it, but it seems to preoccupy a lot of my time with this kind of stuff. But it's interesting. Like for Dean Cain, I believe he's kind of a religious guy anyway, right? So that's got to be a stretch for him to play an atheist, and maybe a fun stretch for him. Maybe that's what the role appealed to him, because he gets to kind of devil's advocate for his own beliefs.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is just, he's been doing a lot of faith-based films, so we kind of tease and say this is faith-based as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, because and so part of I stopped believing in coincidence was when people book things on this show. As you guys probably know, you pick the dates. I don't pick the dates, but then we get people that align with the same kind of just earlier this week, I had somebody who's making a film about time travel and spirituality, and it's just like it comes in clusters, and I think I stopped believing in coincidence. Like somehow I think there's something tying all this together in the world. Any kind of belief system on that stuff? You say you're not religious, but do you believe in those forces and coincidences and destiny and fate and all that kind of stuff?
Well, that's kind of one thing the movie addresses. We deal with a very controversial subject, and that is mass shootings. That's the big event that takes place in the film that we're dealing with, and the question that the writer had, that inspired him to write the script was, why are these people committing these mass shootings, and what if it were something much more sinister, or there was some kind of evil behind this. And that's where the religion comes in, and that's kind of what we're exploring in the film.
Now, do you allow yourself to become the audience and think about what the takeaway from the film at that point, or is you just want to stay as faithful to the script and to the writer's vision as you can, or do you allow yourself that audience to be an audience member and think, well, what do I think about this at the end of the day, the thought-provoking element of the film?
Oh yeah, well, the first time I read the script, it sparked a lot of questions and feelings in me, and which is what you want, which is what you want the film to do for an audience, and it's really a lot of fun. And when you take the film out there to an audience and you see their reactions and you see their questions and you see them kind of debate with each other back and forth about what the film means and what they got out of it, and so that's kind of that's the fun part for me, is just to see how people react to it.
Right. Yeah. No. To me, that would be, because I talked, and this kind of segues to the other part that I wanted to talk about, is this home distribution type of stuff and going direct to digital, I think as a director, that would ruin it for me, because I think, and maybe you have a different opinion about this, but I think the best part of from the director's perspective, it's the day it premieres to be able to stand in the back of the studio, back of a theater, and watch the audience reaction and see what the parts they react to, see if there's any surprises, see what they take away from it. That's the reward, right, for you, or not?
Oh, absolutely. That's definitely the reward, but it's also terrifying.
Right,
Especially that first time you see it with an audience. You're just kind of on pins and needles, waiting for their reactions, and you're hoping that that they laugh in the right places and and stuff like that. But yeah, it's great. There's nothing like it. And
so the
especially
home
when you can.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Especially when you can have a Q&A after the film, and people start asking questions, and that's always just the best part for me.
So the streaming, the digital release part of that would ruin that for you. It takes all that away from you, right? And this is my whole reluctance to go in direct. And I understand the business model is changing and all that stuff, and for a lot of people it just makes sense. But to me, I'm not just about money. I mean, I'm about art. Of course, I'm not against money. I'm not against capitalism. I'm not against making a buck. But for me, if I'm an artist and I get into it for what I want, I don't want to take my greatest reward and just throw it away.
But there are theaters too that are changing, and they're catering to independent films. We've talked to a couple that are helping us out with our distribution as well. And they're excited to play the film, and they want to promote it. And we can play there for a minimum of a week, and it may be longer, or it depends how it happens. So that's kind of a cool thing, because I think you've got the studio stuff, and they still can play that too, but then they can also play the independent films.
Right. Yeah, and the studios don't own the theaters chains anymore, so they can do that. The theaters are pretty much independent, or has that changed? Because I don't even know about the distribution part of it.
Well, there are a lot of independent theaters that that we're playing. We're playing in 8 cities. Starting September 22nd, and so and they're.
Can you list what those cities are?
Mm-hmm. Sure. We're going to be in Los Angeles. We're going to be in Phoenix, Denver, Oklahoma City, Chicago, Dallas, and we're going to play a one-night special screening in Pittsburgh, and then we're going to be in St. Louis.
None in New York.
Not New York this time.
It's very expensive to play in New York.
I know, but I want to see it. I've seen the trailer now. I've talked to the filmmakers. I want to see it. I don't want to have to go to Chicago to see it. No, but that part of it is important now. That do you think of that when you're making the film, or do you wait until the film is done to start thinking about distribution? Because I would be of the mindset of, even before I start shooting, like who's going to see this? How am I going to get it to market? Yeah. All those considerations. Does that start from the beginning, or do you wait until the movie's done and then think, how are we going to get this to market now?
Yeah, you're always thinking about it. Even when you're making it. But that eventually it's going to end up on the streaming platforms. That's where the vast majority of people are going to see it. And so, as a filmmaker, I'm thinking of that. I'm thinking that's where it's going to end up, forever, basically. And that's where, most people are going to find it. They're going to see it. And that's just the way it is now. But the good thing about it is, though, people can send you messages now. They if they like the film, if they want to ask any questions about it, they send you a message, or they make a comment, and so that's another.
I'm going to see if I can talk to Martin Scorsese today about The Irishman. You think I can get through? You think I can tell him what I thought was wrong with The Irishman? Well, and that could be to me, listen, everybody after when I play a gig, there are a lot of critics, not critics, but people who are experts at what I do. That would be really annoying from a filmmaker's perspective, because I'm sure everybody's a critic, right? Or when you get those.
You
I
you
don't.
you when you make a film, you grow a thick skin very quickly.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
the first film we did too, we were doing a lot of film festivals, and we were on different radio shows, doing a lot of promotion, and so then we would see a review come out, and it would be, hey, this is great, and then something else would come out and be, oh my God, they say we're terrible, we're the worst thing ever. Then someone says we're the best thing ever. And then so at the beginning, you're really, I mean, and Tommy, as with the artist, you don't want to be criticized, and at the beginning it is tough. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to build that skin. You can't just be, oh, well, no big deal. It's like, well, 100 people said it's great and one person says, so you just have to realize.
that's the one you always focus on, is the negative one.
Of course. And all it takes is one person, and it might not even be meaning sometimes to make a negative comment, but you take it negatively, and it will live with you and haunt you, and go everywhere in the back of your mind. It's like, why didn't they love me?
Yeah. But when you set out to make a film, you have to realize right off the bat, and you have to be prepared for it. There's going to be somebody out there that thinks it's the worst piece of art they've ever seen in their entire life.
Right.
And they will probably tell you that. And you just need to be ready for it. And but there's also going to be someone out there that says, this is the best thing I've ever seen. So, and then you have everything in between. But if you go into that knowing it, then it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, before I let you go, I can't not talk about this, because the other night I'm referencing the interview I did 2 nights ago with the film about the book that's going to be made into a film about saving Jesus, and I said, aren't you concerned a little bit about the backlash from the Christian community about this? And he's like, no, that's great. Negative, energy in the arts today is a positive thing. And I'll talk about this later on when we're talking about internet stuff. And the thing is just to get outraged, get people buzzed about it, and will drive revenue. And there are people who are on Twitter right now, and their whole purpose is to just say outrageous things to get people to react, because the more impressions you get, the bigger your check's going to be from Elon Musk at the end of the month. And so there's the economics and that kind of marketing and all publicity is good publicity, no matter whether it's negative or positive. And this has some things that will trigger some people in the religious community a little bit. Is that important to you? I mean, at the end of the day, where do you find the balance between your artistic and satisfaction of knowing that you did a great film with the balance that with the incentive to kind of make people react to it, and if they say something negative, that's going to increase your bottom line, and you're going to make more money from bad publicity and all that kind of stuff. Does that enter into your thinking, or all that kind of stuff? The marketing part of it is driving emotional triggers, positive or negative.
Yeah, well, it's positive or negative. If people are talking about it, that's always a good thing. If it gets more people to watch the film, that's all we care about.
And one thing we're doing this time a little different is we're trying to really use the social media more. Because back when we did our first film, it wasn't even there, and so now in using social media, you got all these social influencers at all levels and different things. So you get the right, we're putting that team together right now. But once you get that right group, and it's out there, then people are able to start talking about it, and then you see it again, you see it again, you see it again, and it's crazy. It's just so different from what we grew up with. Then how many times does it need to show up on a commercial on TV? That
Right. Yeah, but I do think, there are people, and this is part of the challenge, is identifying these groups that are going to either be evangelists for the film and go on it and just say nothing but good things to get people in on it, but it's also tapping into those negative voices that will bring attention to your product is an art form right now, and some people are really clever about it and driving their revenue through negative energy, which I'm not a fan of negative energy. I mean, but let's face it, the world is dollars make sense, and for your next film and for the rest of your career, how this one does financially is going to impact that. So you want it to be the most it can be, but sometimes you have to, get in the mud with the devil here.
Right.
Yeah.
But it can still be, instead of negative energy, we're focusing on controversial issues. So
Right.
you have gun control, you've got mass shootings, you've got religion, you've got all these things that really can stir people up.
Right.
And you hit a button and then someone's talking about it. And then
Yeah, but the trick is to get that the hot button topics to the people who are going to be triggered by it, so they're going to talk about it the most. That's what social media is like. We'll do our part. We'll do our part. We'll definitely talk about it. I talk about those issues a lot on the program, and we'll bring up the film. So September 22nd, it's all 8 cities. It debuts that night. Are you going to do a big premiere? Is there one that you're going to be at that is going to be the big premiere spot? Or
yeah, we're doing a big premiere in Los Angeles, big red carpet. We'll have our cast there, and should be a fun night.
is that going to be like a special, special event type of thing with the searchlights and Hollywood on fire? I don't even, because somebody I know who did one at Grauman's Chinese. Well, it's not even called that anymore, but he did a premiere there last year, and it was the typical old fashioned style Hollywood premiere night. Are you doing any of that kind of stuff? The fanfare?
Oh yeah, we'll have as much press there as we can with the photographers, and we're going to try to make it into a big event, that everyone will remember.
Very cool. Well, I wish you good luck with the film. Thank you for being here. I'm sure there are filmmakers who in the audience who are definitely taking some insights and hopefully, the consumers will want to see this film. I mean, again, the trailer is very compelling. The story is compelling, even without the time travel.
Next movie, we'll put time travel. Yeah,
I can't believe I got duped like that. And the guy made a fool of me. He didn't just ruin your movie with a bad review or a review that has nothing to do with your movie. He made a sucker out of me, and that makes me angry. But I appreciate you guys being here. Do me a favor, tell your publicist to contact me the week of, and I will be pushing it to all those cities and reminding people to go.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Yes.
Well, good luck with the film, and when you make your next film, please do come back.
All right.
All right. Bye for now. Have a great day.
Right. Thank you.
Mark Sterling and Tommy Stovall, folks. The name of the film is Condition of Return. It premieres on September 22nd, which is less than a month away. It's actually the first full day of fall where you can actually enjoy your pumpkin spice on the way to the theater. I don't know. I'm not ready for fall. Anyway, the movie, sans time travel, still compelling enough. Devil themes and evil and atheism and the gun control issues and politics and all that kind of stuff. Hey, you know what? There is something beyond just mental illness going on behind this mass shooting epidemic that we have in America. There's definitely something to that, and definitely thought-provoking stuff. Look forward to seeing the film. I hope you are too. Tell your friends about it. Get them talking about it. See the trailer. The trailer is on Mind Dog TV right now. I believe I shared it on all my social media last night. If not, I will check and make sure it's on all the social media today. And look forward to that, September 22nd. We'll be back in a couple of minutes here. I'm going to take a short break here. And when we come back, I don't know as soon as we come back. Robert Taylor will be with us from Portland, Maine, with the Thank You for Your Service segment. And we're going to be talking about what's going on with him and Dusty Slay up in Portland this weekend. And we'll see you in a bit. Until I get back, True Fire, the best place online to learn guitar. If you're interested in learning to play guitar or up your skills, you're already an advanced guitar player, but you really want to up your skills and become a master of it. True Fire is the best online service for learning. You can learn from all the great masters. It's a great platform where you can choose one-on-one with some of the best guitar slingers on the planet. Check it out. True.
Over 2 million guitar players worldwide learn, practice, and play with TrueFire. Our learning tools and massive library of video lessons will ignite your technical skills, harmonic knowledge, rhythm playing, and soloing chops. TrueFire's educators are the best in the biz, from Grammy Award winners to world-renowned artists. You'll have access to an unparalleled faculty of over 300 top-notch blues, rock, jazz, country, fingerstyle, and acoustic guitar educators. Using our desktop and mobile apps, you'll work with TrueFire's multi-angle video lessons on any device, anytime, anywhere. Integrated learning tools such as video syncs, tab and notation, slow-mo, looping, practice jam tracks, and many more handy controls accelerate your learning experience. TrueFire style-specific learning paths guide you every step of the way. Use our assessment tools to find your starting point, then follow our lesson recommendations and track your progress as you work through your personalized TrueFire study plan. Progress faster with private one-on-one instruction, group lessons, multi-track video jams, live streams, song lessons, student forums, TrueFire's Riff magazine, premium jam tracks, and much, much more. With thousands of 5-star ratings and reviews from amateur and pro players alike, you'll find yourself in good company with the world's most comprehensive guitar learning platform. Grab your guitar and ignite your musicality. Sign up free for an all-access trial today.
Yeah, sign up free for your all access, blah, 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 blah. Seemed like an interesting movie. I can't believe I got friggin' duped by this guy who wrote, I gotta find out who this guy is. Guy who wrote the review of the movie that he probably didn't see. What's the name of this guy? Doesn't give you his name. Art TV review. And almost everything he said, he's got the right poster. Film promises to be a captivating blend of action, suspense, drama, with a thought-provoking story that will keep audiences on the edge of their seats. That's all true. The cast includes some of the biggest names in Hollywood, including Chris Hemsworth, Emma Stone, and Michael B. Jordan, who are sure to bring their A game to the screen. Now, those people aren't in the film. It goes on to say one of the most intriguing aspects of the movie is the concept of a return condition. Time travelers must abide by a set of rules that dictate their actions while in the past. None of that's true. The guy wrote a review about a movie he didn't see. And he doesn't even leave his name on it. This is supposedly a critic review. This is terrible. And it does a disservice to the filmmakers, but it also makes a fool out of me. I'm really upset about this. And there's no way I can contact this guy and say, you know what? What did you do? You read something online and just, made up a review of a film you didn't see? Shame, 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 shame. Anyway, I hope you're intrigued enough to check out the film. The devil stuff is definitely compelling enough thing. The devil, atheist, gun, mass shootings, all that kind of stuff. Also, James Russo's in the film, and he definitely looks like he might be like a show stealer. He's got He's got that kind of energy that comes along, and it definitely compelling stuff. Ian says, breaking news, old man duped again. Yeah, it does happen a little too often, doesn't it? Ian's on a roll with some of his comments lately. Hold on, I'm getting a text message. Before I got the people, booking agents always text messaging me. They know I do a show in the morning, but constantly text messaging me. Anyway, it's time to thank Robert for his service again. It's like a constant thing. This guy needs constant thanking for his service. Anyway, it's time to say hello to Robert. Let me thank you for your service, sir.
You're welcome.
You constant thanking. You're just constantly thanking him. You didn't respond to that. I was riding the USMC Bulldog. I tagged you in it at the VA thing. They had this statue of a bulldog, and I was riding it like riding a horse.
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it, and I tagged you in it. That's fun.
Well,
so some other Robert Taylor probably saw it.
No, it's probably on my deal or whatever. When I woke up I slept in this morning until like 8:30. Man, I was tired from freaking traveling. So it's probably on there. I just haven't.
Portland, Maine. First time you ever been there?
Yeah.
What's it like? Is it chilly up there? Because it's chilly here.
No, it's like 63 degrees.
Yeah.
It's raining.
Yeah.
It's supposed to rain all day today.
Big difference in South Carolina, where it's probably still 150 degrees.
No, actually, it had cooled off the freaking day I left, and the day before that, it was like 82. And then I think it got up to 100 on Sunday, but it cooled off for a day or two. Yeah.
Wow.
Shit weather follows me around, man.
Yeah. Did you get to meet Dusty last night?
He's not here yet. I don't think.
I thought he was there already.
No, he's the show's Saturday night, and I was listening to his podcast yesterday, and he said he was going to come up here a day early, or he was coming up here an extra day. So I don't know if he's coming up here today.
Oh, might stay an extra day afterwards.
Yeah, or staying an extra day. Hopefully for him, he's staying an extra day because the weather's supposed to be nicer on Saturday and Sunday.
So you're there way in advance. You went there Thursday for a show Saturday night?
No, I have another show tonight.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
I have a show tonight and Saturday night.
Same place?
No, different places. There's stuff.
Wow, look at you. You're like a well-coordinated produced act.
Well, they do it for you. Once they schedule you and you just show up.
What a beautiful thing.
Yeah, there's shows. Last night there was only like maybe 3 shows spread out because it's kind of kicking off. Tonight and tomorrow night, there's like shows that start maybe 6, 7, 8, like every hour. There's shows kicking off different places all over town, all night.
Wow.
Yeah, you can hit all the shows you want. I went to one last night. It was pretty good. It was a headliner show, I guess what they call it. But they had maybe 3 or 4 local people too at the beginning of the show. The 2 headliners were good though. It was a pretty good show.
So with tonight, are you featuring for somebody, and do you know who that is? Or
no, there's like 6 of us. Everybody does 10 minutes. It's a showcase. So I don't know what the lineup order is or anything.
And then tomorrow you're what, doing 20 minutes or what? How much tomorrow?
I think 10. I think the whole festival, everyone does 10 minutes.
Oh, it's a festival. I wasn't aware it was a festival.
Yeah, it's a festival.
And is Dusty the big headliner for?
Yeah. They added him at the last minute a couple of weeks ago because I was listening to his podcast when he found out about it.
He has his own podcast. I'm not aware of it.
It's good, yeah. It's called
What's
thank you. It's called having a good time.
we're having a good time.
It's pretty good, man, because he does it with his wife, but he just talks about what he did that week and what's coming up the next week. And
Yeah.
they had a new kid like recently, but also too, man, he talks a lot about the open mics, about when he was doing open mics and what's going on, and he's religious too. He talks about some of that stuff every now and then.
Wow.
But he talks a lot of like behind the scenes, just things like while he's traveling, stuff that happens at the airport and stuff like all that kind of stuff, man.
That's it's odd that you get I don't see too many. I know there are some comedians who are very religious or very Christian, whatever you want to call it, but it's a rare thing. It's not it's an exception rather than the rule. Most of them.
Well, he grew up down south in Alabama, so he came up in it. But he's religious, but he says he's not. I don't think he goes to church. He doesn't have.
He's not a proselytizer. He's not like.
I don't think he's a big fan of like organized or the church or whatever. Yeah.
Did you catch the story about the film this morning that we were talking about?
Oh yeah, I was watching some of it. Yeah.
I got duped, man. By a review that the guy who reviewed the film didn't see the movie.
There's a surprise.
Yeah.
Well, that's just like people. The Matt Rife haters that were saying how bad Matt Rife was, and they never even saw his comedy or whatever.
Right. Never even seen it.
Yeah.
People, but I mean, that is blatant. I mean, he's naming stars that aren't in the movie. It's like, come on, dude. You got to at least make some effort here. What did you see? He probably pulled somebody else's review off of a film that sounded like the same title or something, and mixed them up, and then just reworded it, put it through some AI stuff, and put it out there, and then like waiting for my check. Okay, pay me. Well, you got to do some work.
Yeah, I wonder why he even did the review. I mean, it's not
money.
Did he get paid to do a review?
I'm sure. It's for some film review website.
Because it's not like it's some blockbuster movie that's coming out to rivaling what was the one that just came out this past weekend? Another superhero movie, Blue Beetle. It's a Latino, the first Latino. I wrote some jokes on that. I didn't see the movie either. I wrote jokes about it, but I didn't see the movie. But I didn't write jokes about the movie. I wrote jokes about the idea around the movie.
Yeah, the idea of the concept of the movie. What's next? What's next with these superheroes? I don't know. I could probably, if I smoke enough, I come up with something really absurd, some really
Well, they got to come up with They got to come up with the first transgender superhero.
That will definitely trigger enough. Because I was talking to those guys about that. This idea of the way you sell a movie is to include stuff that is going to trigger people.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why I said transgender.
Yeah. You know what? I had a character called Gay Man. Gay Man was based off of Superman, obviously, but instead of Lois Lane, we had Louis Lane. Louis Lane was like a flamboyant gay guy, and Clark Kent, not Clark Kent. Clark Kent and Clark Kent and Gay Man were never in the same place at the same time. And Louis gets bit in the dick by a snake, and Gay Man has to suck the venom out. Somehow I couldn't get funding to make the movie. I don't know. I feel like the card is stacked against me. I thought it was a good idea. Anyway, you've been following your podcast, and I know you are my source for discovering new.
Well, I thought it's weird. It's not weird, but you can tell without even like reading news or anything like that. You can tell if somebody's got a new special or whatever, because there's this new, I don't know, it's like I'm not going to critique him here because I don't know. Jared Freed, he's on everybody's podcast this week. He's on Bert Kreischer's. I think he might be on Bill Burr's. If I'm wrong, I don't know. But there's like at least 3 or 4 I've seen today. I was on there. He's on, so he must have a special coming out or that it came out. I got to check that one out, I guess, before I don't want to critique him without watching it.
Right.
He's from New York, I think.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. You know, people are using podcasts as promotional stuff for their specials right now. Dave Smith, are you a fan of Dave Smith?
I don't know if I know him.
You know? Oh, good. Good. I don't like him. He was on Rogan promoting, and he's got a special that came out, and it said full 20-minute special.
Well, he must have some other. He must be into something else to get on. If he got on Rogan, besides
he's been on Rogan a couple of times. I mean, he's a political guy. He's a comedian who's got a political.
That's his angle then. Yeah.
And he is spreading misinformation. And I caught the clip last night. Carl says I talk too much about Rogan. This isn't about Rogan. This is about Dave Smith. But he was on Rogan.
What was his background? Is he some former CIA agent or Navy SEAL? Because it's like every other week it's a former Navy SEAL.
No, he's not. He's a comedian who just who wants to feel like he's smarter than everybody else, and always has these hot takes that are, and he's of the Russell Brand.
That's
model.
That's his shtick.
Yeah,
I need to come up with some shit like that then. But I don't know what I'd come up with.
Yeah, Ian's got this right. Dave Smith thinks he's an intellectual. He definitely thinks of himself as an intellectual, but he's got shit wrong. And I was thinking about playing the clip because there is so much. You could take it apart, the shtick he's giving Rogan, sentence by sentence, and saying this is a lie, and almost every sentence he says is a lie. Now he's on Rogan, and I don't know.
Did Rogan call him on it?
No, because Rogan doesn't know about. He didn't remember a lot of the stuff. A lot of the stuff he was talking about Russia, and how it was all a hoax, and how the CIA set up. Now this is his thing. CIA set up Donald Trump. And he starts by saying they were spying on Carter Page. They were not spying on Carter Page. I want to go through it, Omar. Maybe I'll do this on Monday. But the Obama administration was not spying on Carter Page. The CIA and the NSA since 2001, since 9/11, have been really eavesdropping all over the place since the NDAA, that the whole National Defense Act, which allowed them to strip away all Fourth Amendment rights and really spy on anybody. Carter Page was out there making outrageous statements at conferences that were overheard by people, of talking about how he could get the sanctions lifted on Russia if Trump got elected. He was working for Trump's campaign at the time. That's not spying. That's the guy is actively out there saying this shit, provoking enough interest. And then what happens the minute Trump gets elected? He drops the sanctions on Russia. To say it was a ridiculous assumption on the intelligence community part that this guy was making deals is not that. But Dave Smith, he goes down this whole thing, and it's just the point that really bothers me is that he's on Rogan, and there are a lot of people who don't think; they just hear, and then they're like parrots. They memorize that little piece of information, even if it's wrong. They don't check to see if it's wrong.
Yeah, that's most people. That's just like when he had Patrick Bet David on there. He's a freaking used car salesman.
Oh man, I hate that guy.
All you gotta do is follow back, just trace back, and you can see he ran that pyramid scam.
Yeah, he was an MLM guy
and things like that. He's got all the answers, but Rogan he just kind of tried to play him off on that last part because he was trying to get Rogan to buy in and get Trump on there. And
It'd be interesting if Rogan ever has him on again. I think Rogan got turned off by
yeah,
that.
he got on there and started trying to sell his stuff or whatever. Right?
Yeah, I'm going to give you all this stuff.
One thing I'll say about Rogan, he tries to. I mean, he'll say, "Oh, I'm not a conservative," or I'm this," or whatever. I don't care what it is. I give him credit though. At least he has people he does bring people on there from both sides of the fence, and he'll ask questions but he won't just jump on the bandwagon. Even if he believes what you're saying, he'll try to get both sides of the story
right
on his show, because he knows that's what he'll get more viewers because if he's the only one doing it, instead of just blatantly pushing one side or whatever like that. I mean, he's got his own agenda too, but I was surprised because that guy was on there before, and it was a love fest and all. Oh, Joe, I love you. Yeah, you're the greatest thing on here. And I mean, geez, if you need chapstick if you're going to kiss his ass that much during the interview, man, or whatever, because even Rogan wasn't buying into it. He was like, come on, man, dial it down or whatever.
He's pretty quick, and I will say this about Rogan: he is pretty quick to figure. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3, but pretty quick to figure out this guy's just a scammer, and I don't think he was going to have him back on again. I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't. I don't have any respect at all for Patrick Bet-David. He takes advantage of. Because they did I don't know if you saw this. They did a breakdown of his MLM pyramid scheme.
I did. I saw where the bottom of the pyramid, the average revenue that each agent or whatever you want to call them in there was less. It was less than it was like $200.
Yeah, less than the money it took to invest
in. $230 or whatever for the training or whatever they had to go.
Yeah, they didn't even make their money back. Right.
Yes, they actually lost money. Yeah, I saw it, but you'll never hear that. I mean, even though they had to disclose that in their financials, nobody who's wasting, and no one's cares. I mean,
right.
The only people that watch him are the people that want to watch him because they want to hear what he has to say, or they buy into it. It's like it's like everything else, though. That cognitive bias,
I had a brief interaction with him about 2 or 3 years ago, and we were going back and forth. But I think he blocked me on Twitter. But I think we emailed back and forth a couple of stuff, and I was being like really petty and stupid, and insulting him. I was like, let me ask you a question. He wants to ask me. He wants to ask me everything. Get off my ass, you fucking ass worshiper. Learn to say K. Ask.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. Don't ask me. I've been asked enough. Anyway, so I'm not a big fan of Patrick Bet-David.
I can see that guy running for office.
Yeah, and winning.
Probably win. I was going to say probably win too.
Yeah,
He's down in Florida. He's in Florida.
It depends on where you run, which is why I'm running in a. I forget I'm even running. Somebody actually contacted me, my account manager, about your campaign. This is your account manager. It sounds like a scam, like some kind of marketing company trying to. If they went and did a database to see who's running, and they want to run my campaign and all that kind of stuff. I was like, yeah, I don't have a campaign really. I'm running, but I'm not doing a campaign. I'm just running.
Yeah, they just want, all they need is your credit card number, and they'll run that whole thing for you.
Let me ask you something. Oh yeah, it does say axe too. Axe and ass. Let me axe and ask you something. It's right on the money with this stuff. So you popped out for a second there. Your show tonight, you're excited about different kind of audience, because Maine is right?
I went to that show last night. This was a paid show where they had to pay to get in. There was a lot of older, not a lot, but more than I thought, older couples and stuff in there. There was a lot of young people too. I think most of the young people were there were maybe comics or whatever. But one of the headliner guys was from Florida. I think his name was Brendan Eyre, Eyre. He's been out at the Comedy Store before doing the roast battle out in LA, and he's a tattoo artist from down in Florida. He was good, but he was raw, man. He was raw, and a few of those older people got up and left.
Yeah, well, I don't think of Maine as necessarily conservative. I think of it as kind of liberal.
It's like a lot of hippies and kind of. I think they make Ben and Jerry's ice cream in Vermont. It's the same kind of vibe up here, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good show, but I just noticed that I was like, oh, there's some older couples there. I hope they come from mine because they'll get my stuff works really well around older people. But I did a show. I haven't seen it since I did this show last weekend. I'm lost. Every time I get on the road, man, I lose track of what day it is. Last Saturday, I did the veterans fundraiser at this Elks lot. It was full house, man. But Jesus Christ, I think I was the youngest person there. And I'm serious, man. I swear to God. And so it was mostly veterans and their wives and stuff. And there was three of us, and the guy that set the thing up, Tom, he went up first and did like 30 minutes. And he's clean, and then I went up, and what he told me he was doing was he was just trying to ease them into Ryan, who was the last guy, who was,
that makes sense.
He was like, he could have rated R or whatever. And so we all did 30 minutes, but I went up and, geez, I like the third joke I did, boy, it was crickets. I had them going, and then I did this joke, this off-color joke, and they just looked at me. I had out of the whole 30 minutes, so I only had about 3 jokes like that. The rest of them, they were on board with, which I was surprised for a lot of it, but I could see, like, the guys wanted to laugh at some of the stuff, and their wives were, like, not laughing, so they didn't laugh. But, I mean, overall, it was pretty good. But I was in this, they had, like, food, a table with food on it, cookies and chips and stuff. And so after I got done, when Ryan, the third guy, was up there, I walked over there and got I was getting a big plate of cookies and all this stuff. And there was just one other guy in the line. He turns around, and in one joke I do, I talk about my hometown. I just reference it. And this guy turns around and he says, "Hey, man, how do you know Bennettsville, South Carolina?" And we're a 4-hour drive from there, where the show was. And I said, "I went to high school there. I grew up there." He said, "I did. Me too, man." I said, "What year did you graduate?" And he said, "What year you graduated?" I said, "That's when I was there." And I looked at the guy, and I recognized him. His nickname was Polecat. That's why we used to call Pole. I said, "Polecat?" He said, "Yeah, man." He said, "I thought that was you. I recognize." He said, "So that's, you never know, man. You're going to run into people."
That's fucking bizarre. Yeah. So I ran into a guy I went to high school with at what the hell was the Air Force Base? Cannon Air Force Base in Clovis, New Mexico. It's just I was walking a hall because a girl I knew who was she was like ROTC or something. She was there, and we just saw this guy knocking on a door down the hall. It's like, that looks like Chris Gill. I went to high school with him, and he heard his name. He turned around and goes, "Matt Napo, what the fuck are you doing out here in the middle of the desert?" Like, wow, very strange. But that's
yeah, man. It's the world's smaller than people think it is. Especially, well, I run into people too from the Marines. Marines are small, man. I used to run into people all over the place. But also too, like if I'm walking around, if I'm going to do like a race or a triathlon or traveling for something like that, like you'll have people know it if they're into the sport, because you got carrying some kind of bag around with a sponsor's logo on it, or you got some T-shirt or some shit like that. But someone will say, "Oh man, did you do that race? Or are you from there?" Or my kids hate it. They used to hate it when they were traveling. Why are you always talking to people? In the airports and stuff like that. I'm like, hey, I said, you never know who you're going to meet, man.
You're a natural networker. I wouldn't think that about you. I really, you don't seem like the person who'd be like a social butterfly, but you are good at networking and making these connections within the
Did you
industry.
ever read what was the man? I think I got Alzheimer's.
Yeah. Oh, you're getting old. That's all.
The guy that wrote the book. He's got the white guy with like the afro.
Not Harry Lorraine.
Outliers. The book about outliers, and I can't believe I read all of his books. The 10,000 hour rule.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, he's got a book. I think it's called Outliers, where he's talking about people. The outliers are the people that get the 10,000 hours in, and they're the ones who become the great people in their areas and stuff like that. But in there, he talks about the networkers, right, or the connectors is what he calls them. Connect. Right. That's what I think. That's what I am, because you could tell me someone or mention someone, and it might take me 5 or 10 minutes, and I can figure out a way that I can connect to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it helps with networking, man. Like,
absolutely. I want to talk to you about earlier in the week. Paul P. Was on Tuesday. He was on, and he was in the Indianapolis's funniest comics festival. I don't know if it was a festival. Yeah, it was 3 days, and it was completely the opposite of World Series of Comedy. It was 3 days. The first day you do 5 minutes. Second day, if you make it to the second round, you do 10 minutes. If you make it to the third round, you do 15 minutes.
Right.
And they want new material every time. So the second night, you can't do any of the 5 minutes you did the first night. And the third night, you can't do any of the 15 minutes that you did previously. That's totally ass backwards from World Series of Comedy. What do you think about that?
Well,
because it's by the judge, it's a judging panel. It's not by audience response.
Yeah, but they have a different agenda too. Though the whole objective of the World Series of Comedy is geared towards getting a showcase video that you can send out to bookers, right? It is a contest technically, but it's not to make a lot of money. I can tell you that, because you only pay one fee up front, and they don't give any prize money out or anything. I don't know, but when you said that, I started thinking, because two of the guys that are hosts for the World Series of Comedy one is actually from Indianapolis, and another was posting that he was doing some shows in Indiana. So I'm wondering if they did that same competition.
Yeah,
they might have.
But is there any value in? Because I think that means you have to have a half hour of material to just enter the thing. If you think you're going to make it through, if you're going to make it through,
what did they get? What was the prize or whatever for that?
I didn't.
I wonder if you got booked.
Shame on me. Yeah, no, it's regular. But and he did get a bunch of contacts and hooked up a small mini tour, a booking agent out of the whole thing.
See,
so
here's what they have on some of those deals. You have to pay to be in them. You might pay $20 or something, and they say, "Oh, the winner gets $500, or the winner gets whatever." Those are money makers, man. Because they'll get a lot of people in those, even at home. They have them like in Augusta or Charlotte. I see almost every freaking other day someone's posting on one of those Facebook sites. Oh, contest, get booked, get booked as a head. First of all, that's what a scam. Where they're like, oh, you win a weekend as a headliner. It's not at a club. It's like at some freaking lounge, right? And how can you be guaranteed somebody a weekend as a headliner if you don't? Especially if the audience
doesn't know the name.
If the audience response knows how you win, because those are bringer shows. I like when I first started doing comedy again, I would do anything just to do it, just to get stage time. And I did one of those in Augusta, and it had brackets where they put you up against another person, and then the audience would vote, and then they moved you on to the next round, like the NCAA thing. Well, in the first round, I went there, but I didn't know any. I knew the people running the thing, but I didn't know any. I didn't take people there with me or whatever. And I went up against this one girl that I knew, and I don't think she got a laugh, right? But she was from there. And she had like 20 people sitting at a table right in front of the stage, and I was getting laughs the whole time. And then they said, "Oh, round of applause for Robert or whatever," and some people clapped. Right, they clapped, but then when they said her name, they like went crazy and stuff because they were all there to see her. So I got left out of it, and she didn't even have the 5 minutes, much less different 5 minutes, because you were supposed to do different stuff after that.
Been there a million times in the early days in music. Yeah,
that's brutal for the people that, if people paid to come see the show, basically all it is a beauty contest, and your family, whoever brings the most relatives, is going to win. And the only reason I did the World Series of Comedy was, like I said before, was the network, get the feedback, and hopefully get a good video. I'm not delusional. It wasn't thinking I'm going to win the contest or whatever. So I usually stay away from those things unless there's something I can get out of it, like that, a really good video that I know there's going to be a packed house, and I'll probably get a good video.
I think just the experience of that, because that is about improving your craft. I mean, no doubt about it. And that's why I don't understand the value of trying to make people do different stuff on 3 nights, because what is the value for them? They're not improving their act.
Well,
they're not improving
I'll tell you why they say they want the comics doing different material, because they want to try to get the same people in there coming again the next night. And I if I know everybody's doing the same material and I saw them tonight, then I'm probably not going to pay to see them tomorrow night. I don't. Yeah. I mean, some people probably would, but if I know you're doing the same, like the people that come to the World Series, the fans, the audience that comes to the World Series of Comedy, the non-comics, right? They don't know that the comics are going to do the same material they did the night before. They don't tell you that. They don't tell the audience that.
But it's not the same people night after night. They're bringing in different
customers. Some of them come back.
Oh, really?
And the difference is, some of the material will be different, because if you're doing 10 the next night, that means you got to add 5 more minutes of material on there. But, I don't know. Who knows, man? Some of those things, man, are just freaking scams.
Yeah, I think a lot of, there's this one guy, Steve, he's got his last name begins with an H, and he's got red hair. I can't think of his last name right now. I'm going through my Alzheimer's shtick, but he's got a reputation among a lot of comics. I guess he had some fame at some point, but he's running all these competitions where he's charging people to get into it, and it's a big scam. It's all about making him rich. It's not none of the comics who enter the thing are really advancing their careers by it. Some of them might get one decent payday out of it, but at the end of the day, it's about making him rich and lining his pocket.
And they'll get people in the thing too. Usually it's newer comics, and then it'll be some comic that's been around local for a while who figures he can get an easy cherry pick on the thing, and that's who usually wins it too.
Looking for that big home run.
Somebody. Oh, I've been doing comedy for 10 years, and I'm going to go do this contest. And I'm telling you, man, I see that at home a lot.
Yeah.
Because the scene isn't that big anyway. But you got people say it on podcasts, on a local podcast or whatever, saying they've been doing comedy for 10 years and 8 years and something. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I wouldn't be telling people that, because you still don't have 5 minutes of material.
Yeah, like the guy who was doing open mics for 20 years on my Facebook group. I was like,
these people are, that's all they do is doing open mic, because it's a hobby for them.
Yeah.
It's a hobby for them. And they don't even do open mics every week, but they'll show up because they got their little clique,
Yeah, that was my take on this. Like, if you're seriously doing open mics, like going at it, working it hard, doing 2 or 3 open mics a week, there's no way you could not improve in 20 years, improve dramatically in 20 years. My guess is that when you say you're doing open mics for 20 years, you're doing one this month, one 2 months from now. You know,
Yeah.
you're not really going
I mean,
hard at it.
I still do open mics, but I got booked at the airport yesterday. A guy sent me. He booked me for 8 shows next month in October. Right?
Wow.
But it was because I did a couple other shows for him and stuff like that. But the point I'm trying to make is, if I go out to San Diego or if I go somewhere, and even if I'm booked on shows, I'll look for open mics to do, just because I can try my material out on a crowd I haven't been around.
Absolutely. Even though
And
the biggest
network.
headliners will do
and just
that.
meet comics and network and just meet comics. But the thing is, I'm progressing, and that's what you're trying to do when you're going to open mics. Is you're trying to learn the ropes and get comfortable and progress and work out material and stuff like that. But if that's what you're doing, if that's all you're doing, is you're still doing open mics and nobody's booking you on shows, then it's just a hobby, I guess. Because
Yep. Yeah.
why would you still be doing it? I mean, if I was trying to play golf and I was shanking golf balls up in the woods every time I hit the thing, and I couldn't learn to hit the balls right, I'd quit playing golf.
Right.
You know, it wouldn't be any fun. So, but I know people too that do open mics, and they go to the same open mics every week, and that's all. Maybe that's all they want out of it, and they could be. I don't know. You know, whatever. I mean,
Yeah. I want to get your take on something before we say goodbye here today. Derek Sheen, who's a friend who's been on the program a couple of times, was talking about a situation where there was a guy they were at a comedy club, they were in the green room, and the guy who was on the show, who was going to get like 8 minutes or so, got bumped because a major star, a big name, came in and just wanted to do a set and ended up doing like 45 minutes. They were talking about Ray Romano. And the guy was all pissed off and jealous and worked up. And Derek's comment was, you know, at that point, I could see you being upset about losing the time, but you're getting a master class. You know, you're getting to see a guy work it and give you some real, you know, expertise about how it's done. A guy who's done. And now, I'm not a huge Ray Romano fan, and the stand-up was never for me. But I'm just curious about that mindset. I would be upset if a guy just came in and took my time away from me. I was booked to do time.
well, I was gonna say, if I'm booked on the show, you can do what you want to do, but you're gonna pay me my money, because
Right.
I gave up an opportunity to do a show somewhere else.
Right.
If you pay me, I don't have a problem with it. It's your show. I'm getting paid either way. I would rather be on the show, but if I'm not, as long as you pay me, that's your.
You know,
show.
I got to ask him, what did the guy get paid anyway? Because I would assume that they would pay him anyway. If you get bumped for your time, but you're booked, and you're right. If you gave up another opportunity to be there that night, you have to be compensated.
Yeah.
For your travel time and all that kind of stuff. It just makes sense.
Yeah. If it's a paid show, if it was an open mic, then what are you going to do? But if it's an open mic, though, they usually just put you on after or whatever. But if it's a paid show, they only got so much time they can keep the people in there in the club or whatever and sell. So that means you're probably not going up. So yeah, if you pay me my money, because I gave up the opportunity, I could have done shows somewhere else. You know what though? Honestly, man, but I don't like that. I don't care who you are, because Dave Attell makes a point. He won't even do that at open mics, man. He'll go up late at night just because he doesn't want to bump
Right.
people off and stuff like that. And he doesn't have the ego. He doesn't have the ego. These guys still have that ego. You know, you hear about Dave Chappelle going up to a club and sitting up there for 2 hours and stuff at an open mic or something like that. That's bullshit. You know, you're just rambling. You don't have 2 hours worth of material. That's just, give to other people a chance.
Yeah.
You can get booked, we're trying to get workout material and get better and get booked. And nothing against Dave Chappelle. I like Dave Chappelle. I'm just saying anyone. I'm using his example because
That was my take when Derek started talking about the story. It's like, that's a petty thing for Ray Romano to do. First of all, he's got his movie career now. He's got billions from his television, millions, multi-millions from his television show. He doesn't need that. This is all about stroking his own ego at the cost of people who are coming up now. And that's what I was a little bit, I don't have a fucking dog in the fight, but it just seemed to me petty.
Well,
And
what he's doing too is, I think he's still doing that. I don't know if he's still doing it. He was out in Vegas, and he was co-headlining with Brad Garrett, I think, and then maybe he was doing it with somebody. I think he was doing it with David Spade too. Maybe they were doing like a co-headliner thing several weekends out of the year in Vegas. But this is one reason he does that too. And he's not the only one. They'll do that because they can go in and work out new material for the shows they're going to be doing somewhere else in Vegas, or because they don't want to do open mics. They don't want to have to go. Their version of the open mic out in LA is to go to the Comedy Store. If you're a regular at the Comedy Store, you go up and do 15-minute sets. And people pay to come in and watch you do the 15-minute sets. But that's how, like, Louis used to do that at the Comedy Cellar, Louis C.K. He'd go in a Comedy Cellar, and when they were having, I don't think they call it open mic, but that's basically what it was. And he'd do his 15 and work out material, and they'd go in there that's what Mark Norman does. That's why he's at all those places every night doing 10-minute sets, doing 15-minute sets. That's basically his open mic. He's working out that material.
right.
When you pay $35, $40, $50 to go see him at the Comedy Zone or Governors or whatever, so like that, then he's not trying out new stuff on you. He's doing stuff that he pretty much knows is going to work.
You know what surprised me? Joe List's special came out a week ago today, and I watched it. It was friggin' hysterical. Really, really good stuff. But I had seen him do some of the stuff live, like you're just talking at showcases at the Stand, and another place in New York, Stand Up New York. Anyway, I'd seen the stuff, and it was even funnier in the special, because I guess the special was taped after I saw him do it live. Same material though, but it was refined, and it was really good to watch.
Yeah.
But the other night he was talking about online, I think, maybe it was in a podcast, but he said talking about going out to do shows. Might have been with Howie Mandel. I don't know. It doesn't matter. He's talking about going out to do shows now, and he said, because I've been doing this special and promoting this special, I haven't had time to do material. So people are going to get some old material. They'll get some new stuff. Some of it will be great. But just to be able to say that to people, like, I don't know. To me, that takes courage and balls to be able to say some of the stuff you may have seen before. It's not going to be all new material. Sorry about
Mark
that.
Norman, yeah, you remember like a week ago or so that Mark Norman was saying that he's out touring now, and someone asked him, well, are you still doing the stuff from the special or whatever? And he says, no. He says, I'm doing I'm got like 30 minutes of stuff I didn't do in the special, and then the rest is stuff I'm working on. He says,
Right.
well, I apologize or whatever.
Funny, him and List of friends, they both have that same attitude about that. But I like it. I mean, I don't see anything, because again, I saw Joe List do that material, but when I saw it in the special, it was still funny, and it was even more funny. So
this, of course, this is just my opinion or whatever, but I think the guys that come up through in the New York scene are heads and tails above the LA and the other. Yeah. I mean, on average, I'm sure you'll get the outlier coming from one of those places, but if you look at the guys who come up from New York, they're like battle tested, man.
Right, because you have so much more opportunity to work.
That's what I'm saying is they're out doing open mics and doing spots every night, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots a night. They get to work out that material. And so that's, when they hit the road, man, they're constantly, I mean, freaking Mark Norman comes out, he's doing a show and he's got his notebook on the stool doing new jokes,
right,
working them out on you and stuff like that. And I'm not saying they don't want to get a TV show or be in a movie or whatever like that, but that's not their primary objective, man. And I think it is out in LA. I think they're all out there. They want to be a star.
Right.
They want to be.
Well, that's the adage. You go to
Yeah.
New York to get good. You go to LA to get famous.
Yeah, and you look at these guys, man. Dave Attell and Mark Norman. I don't think their goal is to be a star.
Right.
I don't think it's to be a star. I think they want to be great comedians, and they want to produce great comedy.
Yeah.
Sure, if you're going to give them the money, I don't think they're going to turn it down or whatever. But I don't think that's what they're working towards. Going back to what we were talking about before on another episode, was goals. Your goals, process, product, and outcome. And if all you're focused on is the outcome, then you're ripping people off, man.
Right.
And yourself too, because sometimes you're probably never going to get there in the first place. And just focus on the process, and the rest takes care of itself. You write the jokes, and you get out and get the stage time, and get the feedback and network, and you do all that stuff. The rest kind of just falls in place. You need some luck too, but the rest falls in place. People don't want to do the damn work.
Yeah. One last thing before I let you go. I hope you enjoy this weekend. But like when I do a show, after the show, I'm on. I mean, I'm lit up. Even energetically, I am lit up after a show. Now you're going up before a headliner tomorrow night, and a good one, Dusty Slade. Now, when you come off the stage, are you going to be? Are you still filled with like that energy? And how long does it take to kind of dissipate and get back to normal, where you can actually relax and go to sleep, or you don't, or do you not get that like on fire?
If I have a really good show, I get it. If I have a really bad show, I get it. Because either way, I have the same mentality. When I come off and my mind won't stop, it's like, what can I do to make it even better? Like even if I have a really good set, I'm still thinking, oh man, if I do this, if that wrote really well, maybe I could do this. Or if I don't have a good one, then I'm thinking, what the hell what am I got to do to make that better? Or it's kind of, I can sleep. I don't have any damn problem sleeping. I can fall asleep anywhere at any time. But but usually you'll hang out with people for a while, and if I'm at home and I usually drive somewhere, it's usually a couple hours at least. Then I got to drive back, so I can like decompress or whatever. Here, there's a lot of comics here, so you can hang out, just network and stuff like that. Pick people's minds and stuff.
Did you bring merch with you to Maine?
No, I didn't bring it just because I didn't want to check a bag.
When I was riding the Bulldog in front of the Marine place, I was wearing your shirt last week.
I got a hoodie too. I got my hoodie. I'll probably wear it around the day since it's cooled off a little more. I won't wear it on stage though, because then I'm thinking people are gonna think I'm a freaking moron up here. But you know what? Dusty Slade's got a hat he wears sometimes. The Dusty Slade having a good time hat on stage. But
we're having a good time.
About that, who's going to buy it from me anyway? Up here, there's so many people. You can't sell it after the show, not at a festival, probably.
Dusty gave me a retweet
earlier this week. Oh, he did?
Yeah, he was talking about every time his wife cleans the house, she's angry at him. I said, we're having a good time, but she's not.
Yeah. You know what though, man? He seems like he hangs out and talks to his fans after the shows, and but I'm telling you, man, he can still do that right now, and I think it's stretching him a little because he's got a lot of stuff going on at home. I mean, a new kid, and he's traveling on the road, and he comes back, and he's trying to do his podcast and the Nate Land podcast. And once that special pops, he's going to be bigger. He's going to.
I'm surprised the Netflix half-hour stand-ups didn't make him pop in a big way, because a lot of people are getting a big attention from that Netflix stand-ups thing. half hour.
Yeah, I think you got to. Well, also too though, after that Netflix special, he didn't have like after Mark Norman did that Netflix special, he went up on Rogan, right? And Dusty wasn't doing Rogan. He wasn't doing. But you know what? When he was in Austin about 2 weeks ago, and he did a set at Rogan's new club, but Rogan wasn't there.
Wow.
So he probably didn't see him.
Yeah, Rogan can't have every comic on, and he tends to get clicky. But
Well, that's what I was just going to say, though, man. I'm trying to be objective, but of a lot of the comics he's had on there, none of them can freaking come close to Dusty Slay.
Yeah, I know. I know.
A lot of them are, Norman and Louis C.K., David Tell, Shane Gillis, all that. They're all great comics. But he's had some people on there. I mean,
Dave Smith sucks. Dave Smith.
Brendan Schaub. There's other ones too that are on, like Brian Callen. They're not even close to Dusty Slay. I mean, you'll see, man.
I agree. No, I've seen Dusty Slay, and if I had a choice to watch any of those people or Dusty Slay, I would pick Dusty.
But people, he's making his way out now. He's still more like a regional act, a Southern comic. They're trying to pigeonhole him in like Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah,
but he's not. He's not. He talks about he's edgy, man.
I know he is.
He's PG, cleanish, but he's edgy.
Yeah, no, it definitely PG or even like a soft R, but he's not using profanity. But a lot, all his material is very adult.
Yeah, I'll be surprised. I guess he's probably still going to do most of the stuff I saw him do at his special taping because it hasn't come out yet. So
right.
I imagine I don't mind. Whatever. You can always learn. Watch even those guys last night. I'm sitting there watching those guys, and it gave me some ideas on how to restructure a couple of jokes I got.
Right.
To make them work better or whatever. That's what the whole thing is. People say, "Oh, why are you going all the way to Portland, Maine, to do a comedy festival?" Because you can learn, man. You can
there's
learn.
People who speak English there that enjoy comedy. That's why you go any place, because there are English-speaking audiences who want to see comedy, and it's an opportunity to reach new
that exactly, and to see if to expose yourself to different crowds, man. To see if your stuff works in different areas, and if it because ideally what you want it to do is to have a broad base. You want to have a broad base where your stuff works for everybody.
Right.
Well, I was telling this guy the other night, a younger kid, I said, if you go up there and you tell a joke and it works sometimes, it kills sometimes, but it doesn't work sometimes, it means the joke